Understanding APIs, the unsung heroes of the digital world. Have you ever booked a flight online or ordered food through an app? If you have, then you've interacted with an API. API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's like a messenger that allows different software applications to talk to each other. Think of an API as a waiter in a restaurant. You tell the waiter what you want to eat. The waiter takes your order to the kitchen. The kitchen prepares your food. Then, the waiter brings your food back to you. In this case, you are like the app you're using. The waiter is the API, and the kitchen is the database or server that holds the information you need. APIs are everywhere in our digital world. They make it possible for apps to share data, functionality, and connect with each other seamlessly.
APIs as bridges. Connecting the software universe. Imagine a world without APIs. It would be like trying to speak different languages without a translator. Software applications would struggle to understand each other. APIs act as bridges between different software systems. They define a set of rules and specifications for how data should be exchanged. This allows applications built with different programming languages or on different platforms to communicate effectively. For example, a weather app on your phone doesn't store all the weather data itself. Instead, it uses an API to connect to a weather service, like OpenWeatherMap. This API allows the app to request and receive weather information in a structured format. APIs are essential for building interconnected and interoperable software systems. They enable developers to leverage existing services and data without reinventing the wheel, speeding up development and fostering innovation.
Enter Amazon API Gateway, your API management powerhouse. As APIs became more and more popular, managing them became a challenge. That's where Amazon API Gateway comes in. It's a fully managed service that makes it easy for developers to create, publish, maintain, monitor, and secure APIs at any scale. Think of Amazon API Gateway as a control center for your APIs. It provides a single point of entry for all your API requests. It also offers features like traffic management, authorization and access control, monitoring, and API versioning. With Amazon API Gateway, you can focus on building your core application logic without worrying about the complexities of managing the underlying infrastructure. It's like having a dedicated team of API experts at your fingertips. Demystifying API key concepts. Before we dive into the specifics of using Amazon API Gateway, let's clarify some key concepts. API. As we discussed, an API is a set of rules and specifications that allow different software applications to communicate. Resource. A resource is a specific piece of information or functionality that an API provides access to. For example, in a social media API, a resource could be a user profile, a post, or a comment. Method. A method defines the action that can be performed on a resource. Common methods include get, retrieve data, post, create data, put, update data, and delete, delete data. Endpoint. An endpoint is the URL that clients use to access a specific resource using a particular method. It's like the street address of your API. Integration. Integration defines how your API connects to the back-end system or service that provides the actual data or functionality. This could be a serverless function, a database, or another API. Stage. A stage is a logical deployment of your API. You can have multiple stages, such as development, testing, and production, allowing you to manage different versions of your API. Deployment. A deployment is the process of making your API accessible to clients. Throttle. Throttling limits the number of requests an API can receive in a given time frame. This helps prevent abuse and ensures fair usage. Caching. Caching stores API responses in a temporary storage location. This reduces the load on your back-end systems and improves response times for frequently accessed data. Authorization. Authorization determines who has access to your API and what actions they are allowed to perform. Understanding these key concepts will provide a solid foundation for working with Amazon API Gateway.
Section 5. Creating an API with Amazon API Gateway. Creating an API with Amazon API Gateway is a straightforward process. You can choose from several API types, including HTTP APIs, REST APIs, and WebSocket APIs. HTTP APIs are a lightweight option for building APIs that only need to expose HTTP endpoints. REST APIs offer more features, including support for API keys, request validation, and throttling. Once you've chosen your API type, you can start defining your resources, methods, and integrations. Amazon API Gateway provides a user-friendly interface for configuring these settings. Section 6. Defining resources and methods for your API. Resources and methods are the building blocks of your API. Resources represent the objects or data that your API exposes. For example, in an e-commerce API, you might have resources for products, customers, and orders. Methods define the actions that clients can perform on those resources. For example, you might have a GET method for retrieving a product, a POST method for creating a new order, and a PUT method for updating customer information. Amazon API Gateway allows you to define resources and methods using a hierarchical structure, making your API organized and easy to navigate. Section 7. Setting up integration. Connecting your API to the backend. Once you've defined your resources and methods, you need to set up the integration. This is where you connect your API to the backend system or service that provides the actual data or functionality. Amazon API Gateway supports a wide range of integration options, including AWS Lambda functions. You can trigger serverless functions in response to API requests. AWS services. You can integrate your API with other AWS services, such as Amazon DynamoDB, Amazon S3, and Amazon SNS. HTTP endpoints. You can connect to any publicly accessible HTTP endpoint. Mock integrations. You can use mock integrations to test your API without setting up a real backend. Choosing the right integration type depends on your specific needs and the architecture of your application. Section 8. Deploying your API, making it accessible to the world. After setting up your integration, you need to deploy your API to make it accessible to clients. Amazon API Gateway makes this process simple. You can deploy your API to different stages, such as development, testing, and production. This allows you to manage different versions of your API and control who has access to each stage. When you deploy your API, Amazon API Gateway generates a unique endpoint URL that clients can use to access your API. You can also configure custom domain names for your API to make it more user-friendly.
Section 9. Monitoring, managing, and securing your API. Once your API is deployed, it's essential to monitor its performance, manage traffic, and ensure its security. Amazon API Gateway provides built-in monitoring and logging capabilities. You can track key metrics such as API calls, latency, and error rates. You can also set up alerts to notify you of any issues. To manage traffic and prevent abuse, you can use Amazon API Gateway's throttling and caching features. Throttling limits the number of requests an API can receive in a given time frame. Caching stores API responses in a temporary storage location, reducing the load on your back-end systems and improving response times for frequently accessed data. To secure your API, you can use Amazon API Gateway's authorization and access control features. You can use API keys, AWS identity and access management, IAM permissions, or custom authorizers to control who can access your API.
Section 10. The power of APIs in modern software development. APIs have become the backbone of modern software development. They allow applications to connect, share data, and leverage each other's functionality. This has led to a surge in the development of microservices, cloud-native applications, and serverless architectures. Amazon API Gateway simplifies the process of creating, deploying, managing, and securing APIs at any scale. Its robust features and seamless integration with other AWS services make it an essential tool for developers looking to harness the power of APIs. By understanding the key concepts and best practices for working with Amazon API Gateway, you can unlock a world of possibilities for building innovative and interconnected applications.